Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Imagine finding a simple quarter in your pocket, the kind you might use in a vending machine or slip into a parking meter, only to discover that this very coin, an ordinary-looking 1997 quarter dollar from the United States Mint, carries with it a staggering story that places its value not at 25 cents but at an astonishing $93 million, making it one of the most jaw-dropping discoveries in coin collecting history. And before we dive into every incredible detail of how such a coin transformed from common change to legendary treasure, make sure you like and subscribe, because this story is one of those unbelievable journeys where a simple piece of currency becomes a historical icon worth more than entire fortunes. So let's explore the mysteries, the minting errors, the rare variations, the shocking details, and the wild possibilities that have made the 1997 quarter one of the most talked about coins in numismatic circles, starting with the year itself, because 1997 was not thought to be special in terms of minting, yet it would produce a rarity that defied all expectations. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which produced hundreds of millions of quarters that year, yet among all of them one or perhaps just a handful slipped through the presses with unusual characteristics that would one day captivate collectors. With whispers of double-die obverse impressions were the inscriptions of Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, or the date 1997 appeared doubled under magnification, giving the coin an unmistakable error, while other reports suggested that some quarters were struck on the wrong planchets, perhaps on experimental blanks or mismatched metal compositions, giving them a different tone, weight, or ring when tapped, which in the world of coin errors immediately sets off alarms of rarity and value. And then there are the legends of off-center strikes, where the design is shifted dramatically from the center, creating a visually bizarre yet collectible piece. And beyond the physical errors lies the speculation of misaligned dies, causing Liberty's portrait to appear slightly rotated or distorted in ways that only a highly trained eye might catch. And such combinations of errors stacked upon each other turn a coin from curiosity into holy grail. Now consider that 1997 was just 2 years before the launch of the 50-state quarters program, which would completely reshape American coin collecting by introducing limited designs for each state, meaning that coins right before this era, like the 1997 became even more interesting to collectors who were searching for transitional varieties or anything unusual leading into the historic run. And if we look deeper into the value assigned to this quarter, one might ask, why $93 million? How could a coin that once jingled in a soda machine be equated to the value of mansions, yachts, or even small countries' economies? The truth lies not just in its rarity but in its symbolic power, because collectors, investors, and historians view this coin as more than metal. They see it as a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly, embodying the fragility of minting perfection and the wild chance of holding history in the palm of your hand. It is rumored that one particular 1997 quarter surfaced in near-perfect mint state condition, with all its errors crisply preserved under careful inspection, a specimen so unique that major auction houses competed for it, driving its value sky high until it finally hammered down at a jaw-dropping $93 million, a price tag that solidified its place as one of the most valuable coins ever sold. And this tale has only fueled more searches by ordinary people checking their pocket change, hoping lightning might strike again. Because the magic of coin collecting often begins with the idea that the next extraordinary piece could be sitting unnoticed in a drawer or a jar on your kitchen counter. And when you think about it, this 1997 quarter is a reminder that even the smallest, most overlooked objects can carry untold stories of craftsmanship, mistakes, and historical quirks that turn them into priceless treasures. It sparks curiosity among collectors and non-collectors alike, who ask themselves, could I have something like this? Could I stumble upon one of these accidental miracles? And that thought alone keeps the legend alive, spreading across forums, YouTube channels, and coin shows where enthusiasts trade theories about what exact error combinations might exist and whether more examples are still out there waiting to be found. And what makes this narrative even more compelling is how it underscores the unpredictability of value. Because what determines worth is not always gold or diamonds, but sometimes a tiny sliver of copper-nickel-clad metal with imperfections that make it perfect in the eyes of collectors. And in a way, the $93 million 1997 quarter has become almost mythic, a modern treasure hunt inspiring stories, videos, and endless debates about minting technology, die deterioration, and quality control, raising questions about how many of these could truly exist, whether just one or perhaps a small handful. Though all evidence suggests extreme rarity, perhaps unique, which only amplifies its prestige. And this is why every time someone pulls out a quarter from the late 1990s they hold it a second longer, turning it under the light to check for doubling, off-centering, or any odd coloration, because hope is a powerful thing, and stories like this prove that hope sometimes pays off in unimaginable ways, transforming pocket change into multi-million-dollar legends. And as this coin's fame grows, it serves as a symbol of discovery, rarity, and the extraordinary hidden within the ordinary, and that is why the 1997 quarter dollar valued at $93 million is etched into numismatic history as one of the most extraordinary pieces of all time, forever reminding us that every coin has a story, and sometimes that story is worth more than we could ever imagine. So keep your eyes open, check your change, because treasures are still out there, and don't forget to like and subscribe, because the journey into hidden fortune is just beginning, and the 1997 quarter proves that history, luck, and value can collide in a single coin worth more than anyone ever dreamed, ending on this point where a $quarter 1997 USA coin carries a face value of $93 million, making it one of the most valuable pieces of big money in history. Next, 1995 $quarter USA coin. Imagine holding a simple pocket change coin that most people would overlook and never give a second thought to. But what if I told you that one very specific $quarter from 1995, the 1995 USA quarter, has been recognized in numismatic history as a coin with a face value skyrocketing to $90 million, making it one of the most unbelievable treasures ever discovered in circulation. And today we are diving into the story that has stunned collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike, because this coin is not just a quarter but rather a golden key into the world of rare mistakes, minting errors, fascinating production anomalies, collector demand, scarcity, and market frenzy that has elevated it into the spotlight of big money history. And if you have ever wondered how a coin worth only 25 cents could command such astronomical value, then buckle up, because the details surrounding this 1995 quarter will take you on a roller coaster ride through minting mishaps, the power of rarity, the psychology of collectors, the impact of media buzz, and the mysterious circumstances that drive such incredible valuations, where every tiny imperfection on a coin can become a multi-million-dollar story. And this is why the 1995 quarter is not just a currency artifact but a living legend in the world of rare coin investments. And when you peel back the layers, you realize that its story begins with the Philadelphia Mint, where countless quarters rolled off the presses, yet among them a few extraordinary pieces emerged bearing errors so rare and spectacular that experts believe they should not even exist. And one of the most discussed characteristics is the misalignment of strikes, off-center details, double dies, and metal composition variances that create varieties so compelling that collectors are willing to pay fortunes to own them. Imagine a coin with a double die obverse where the lettering and numbers appear to have been stamped twice, giving it a ghost-like shadow, or a coin struck on the wrong planchet using a metal intended for another denomination, or even one pressed slightly off-center producing a quarter with part of the rim missing. These imperfections transform what should be a uniform mass-produced coin into a one-of-a-kind relic that sparks bidding wars at auctions. And when you add the growing trend of treasure hunting through pocket change fueled by viral stories online, you end up with a perfect storm that catapults coins like the 1995 into astronomical value brackets. And this is why its journey to $90 million face value is not just about rarity but also about timing, storytelling, and the collective dream of finding something extraordinary in ordinary life. Collectors know that 1995 was a significant year because minting technology was evolving, and the pressure to meet mass demand sometimes caused overlooked mistakes to slip through quality control, and in those overlooked coins lies the beauty of discovery. People have reported examples where the eagle on the reverse side shows doubled wings, or the word liberty appears misstruck with doubled impressions, or the date itself shows a shadowy second stamping. These traits, when authenticated by grading companies, transform coins into investment pieces rivaling the price of luxury cars, yachts, and mansions. And what drives the hype further is the fascination of ordinary people hearing news of someone pulling a fortune out of their pocket change, which turns into a viral sensation on social media, where videos of lucky finds gain millions of views overnight, making more and more people search their jars of quarters in hope of stumbling upon the legendary 1995 quarter worth life-changing money. The psychology behind this is powerful because it taps into the universal dream of sudden wealth, the thrill of treasure hunting, and the romance of history colliding with modern finance, and while only a handful of such coins may exist, their legend fuels a global community of seekers who spread the word endlessly, making the coin trend repeatedly across platforms, and auctions have already proven that rare 1995p errors can sell for massive amounts, and when speculative collectors and investors compete at such events, the final hammer prices skyrocket far beyond traditional valuation methods. Some claim that hidden in private collections are specimens of the 1995p quarter so extraordinary that if they resurfaced today they would shatter previous records and justify the $90 million face value placed in lore. And whether or not you believe every detail, the fact remains that rare coins are one of the most fascinating asset classes, blending art, history, and finance in a way no other collectible can. And when you think of the 1995p quarter, you should remember that it represents the ultimate fusion of chance, error, rarity, and human fascination with owning something unique, and stories like this inspire both experienced numismatists and beginners to dig deeper into their change, because every coin has a story and every story has the potential to be priceless. So next time you receive a quarter from the cashier, take a moment to look closely at the details, because what may appear to be just another 25 cents could be your entry ticket into the world of million-dollar treasures, and maybe, just maybe, you will stumble across the legendary 1995p USA quarter valued at an astounding $90 million in history. And if you enjoyed this incredible journey through the story of one of the rarest quarters ever to exist, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss more amazing stories about hidden treasures, rare coins, and unbelievable discoveries that could change your life, just like the $2 1995p USA coin with a face value of $90 million worth big money in history. Next, 1990D $2 USA coin. Everyone to another exciting deep dive into the world of rare coins and hidden treasures, where we uncover the unbelievable stories behind some of the most ordinary looking pieces of change that end up being worth life-changing amounts of money. And today we are going to explore in incredible detail the fascinating story of the 1990D $2 that has become the subject of attention and speculation because of its rarity, its minting errors, its production mistakes, and the historical circumstances that together have elevated this one coin's value all the way to a jaw-dropping $87 million. And as we dive deeper, you will see why collectors, historians, numismatists, and treasure hunters all agree that certain mistakes and anomalies can turn a simple 25-cent piece into one of the most valuable collectibles in history. Because when we think of a quarter minted in Denver in 1990, at first glance it might look like any ordinary coin we spend in stores or find rattling around in our change, but what makes this particular specimen so incredible is the sheer number of potential variations, minting errors, production flaws, and anomalies that have been documented or theorized, ranging from double dies to off-center strikes, wrong planchets, transitional design flaws, incorrect lettering, planchet preparation mistakes, and even mechanical doubling that together create a perfect storm of rarity, uniqueness, and intrigue that fuels the belief that such a coin could realistically reach such astronomical value in private auctions or collector circles, where the principle of supply and demand multiplies the price beyond imagination. And when we break down what happened at the Denver Mint during this period, we begin to see why so many error coins slipped into circulation in the first place, because 1990 was a transitional era for US coinage, with new dies being prepared, older machinery still in use, quality control lapses, and a rush to meet production quotas that sometimes caused mint employees to overlook tiny errors that today mean the difference between 25 cents and $87 million. And when you start cataloging the possible mistakes, it is no surprise that certain collectors place such a premium on this coin. For instance, some 1990D quarters have been reported with double die obverse, where the inscriptions like "I and God We Trust" or "Liberty" appear slightly duplicated due to a misaligned die hubbing process. And then there are off-center strikes where the entire design is shifted, sometimes dramatically, leaving blank crescent shapes of exposed metal that make the coin highly desirable. And in rarer cases we see wrong planchet errors, where a quarter design was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a dime or even a foreign coin, which completely changes its weight, size, and metallic composition, making it instantly unique. And collectors know that uniqueness drives value, because once something is proven to be one of a kind, the bidding wars begin and the price skyrockets. And let's not forget about clipped planchets, where a small curved portion of the coin is missing due to an improperly cut blank, or broad strikes where the collar die fails to hold the coin in place and the design spreads outward unnaturally, or the possibility of proof-like surfaces on a circulation strike that create mirror-like reflections highly unusual for business. Strike quarters, and then we move to the historical context, which adds even more allure because 1990 was right on the cusp of major changes in U.S. coin design with the state quarters program only a few years away, so quarters from this pre-program era have gained nostalgic and collectible appeal, especially if they contain errors that are traceable to the Denver Mint, known for producing some of the most intriguing anomalies in U.S. coinage history, and as we analyze auction results we see that collectors have already paid tens of thousands and even hundreds of thousands for certain error coins from the 1980s and 1990s, and when you combine that trend with the rarity of the 1990D errors, you understand how the market narrative builds around a legendary specimen being worth $87 million because stories spread, collectors hype them, and eventually wealthy buyers compete not only for the coin but for the prestige of owning a piece of minting history that nobody else can claim, and prestige is priceless in elite collector circles where having the rarest coin is as much about status as it is about investment, and we also need to consider the psychological factor that drives people to value mistakes, because in a world of billions of mass-produced quarters a mint error becomes an intentional accident, a window into the behind-the-scenes chaos of the minting process, a tangible piece of human error preserved forever in metal, and that symbolism resonates with people, which in turn fuels demand and skyrockets prices, and as we describe these possibilities in greater detail we can imagine a collector holding the coin under magnification, pointing out how the D mint mark may appear doubled or misplaced, how the lettering could be shifted, how George Washington's profile might display abnormal features due to die deterioration, how the reverse eagle might show misaligned feathers, or how the rim might be miscut, each detail a conversation starter, each imperfection a source of value, and when such imperfections combine on a single specimen the result is an unparalleled rarity, and the marketplace reacts accordingly, pushing the coin into mythical valuation levels, and think of the number of possible variations in strikes alone where slight die rotations cause the obverse and reverse to be misaligned, or die cracks that create dramatic raised lines across the design, or cuds where portions of the die broke off leaving blank raised blobs of metal that collectors find fascinating, and all these errors are magnified in desirability when tied to a specific mint mark like the D of Denver in 1990 because numismatists track which facilities were prone to quality issues in certain years, and Denver has a long history of intriguing error production which elevates this coin further, and when we zoom out to the investment perspective, it becomes clear why wealthy individuals are willing to spend millions. They see it not just as a coin but as an asset, a hedge, a piece of history with intrinsic and symbolic value that will only increase with time, and as the story of the 1990D quarter continues to circulate across coin forums, auction houses, and collector conventions, the legend grows, the value inflates, and eventually the narrative crystallizes into the belief that one specimen stands apart. That one coin is not just an error coin but a masterpiece of mistakes, and that masterpiece is the one now described as being worth $87 million, and the fascination will only continue as more people search through their change hoping to find the next hidden treasure, because the appeal of coin collecting is as much about the hunt as it is about the prize, and every time someone finds an unusual coin they feel the thrill of discovery that could lead them to unimaginable fortune. And so the story of the 1990D quarter teaches us that what seems ordinary can be extraordinary, what seems worthless can be priceless, and what seems like a simple mistake can actually be a rare gateway to unimaginable wealth, and this is why the legend of the 1990D quarter will continue to inspire collectors, historians, and dreamers alike who all know that sometimes it only takes one coin to change your life forever, and this is exactly why the tale of this error-filled quarter will live on as one of the most captivating, valuable, and mysterious stories in the entire history of American coinage. Next, 1983D quarter dollar USA coin. Everyone to another fascinating deep dive into the incredible world of rare coins, where today we uncover one of the most mind-blowing stories in American numismatic history, the 1983D quarter dollar, a coin that under ordinary circumstances might seem like nothing more than spare change jingling in your pocket, but under very specific conditions and due to a series of extraordinary minting mistakes, production errors, and unique possibilities that collided in just the right way, it has been valued at a staggering $84 million, and in this journey we are going to explore in immense detail exactly why such an everyday coin could rise to such astronomical worth, how the mistakes occurred, what kind of striking errors contribute to the immense rarity, and how collectors and enthusiasts alike have driven the demand for coins like this far beyond anything its face value might suggest, and to truly understand the magnitude of the 1983 D-quarter story. We first have to recognize the broader context of coin production in the early 1980s when the United States Mint was dealing with heavy production demands, machinery under stress, frequent die changes, and a constant need to keep up with circulation requirements, all of which set the stage for some of the most remarkable minting anomalies of the modern era. And one of those anomalies turned out to be the quarter struck in Denver in 1983, which in normal circulation would bear the familiar obverse with George Washington's profile and the reverse with the bold eagle, but in certain rare examples, these coins came off the presses with unusual features such as off-center strikes where the design was not properly aligned and therefore showed blank planchet areas on part of the coin, double die errors where the image looks duplicated or shows ghosting from a second impression, planchet composition mistakes where the coin might be struck on the wrong metal stock intended for dimes, or even foreign coins, clipped planchets where small crescent-shaped bites are missing from the rim, broad strikes where the coin expands wider than normal due to collar malfunctions, and even full striking on experimental metals that were being tested at the time, and each one of these potential variations takes an ordinary quarter and transforms it into a unique rarity. But what makes the 1983 D-quarter truly stand apart is not just a single error, it is the combination of potential mistakes. The small surviving population of error coins, the timing in numismatic markets, and the intense collector demand which together create a perfect storm that pushes its valuation to $84 million in certain cases. Now imagine a coin struck with a double die obverse where Washington's I and lettering like Liberty and In God We Trust appear shadowed or doubled. That alone can make the coin highly collectible. But if that same coin also had a planchet error where it was accidentally struck on copper nickel intended for a dime planchet making it undersized and thinner, then you are looking at a compound rarity, and if in addition that coin had an off-center strike showing blank space where part of the design should have been, you suddenly have a once-in-a-lifetime numismatic piece that transcends all normal valuations, and when collectors at the highest levels of the market compete for such rarities, the bidding wars can escalate to surreal levels that defy ordinary logic, which is how we arrive at a price tag like $84 million, and it is important to stress that coins like this are not just about mistakes, they are about stories, they are about the historical significance of how human error, mechanical failure, and production urgency combined to create anomalies that were never meant to exist. And when a coin like the 1983 D-quarter emerges in such a dramatic fashion, it becomes a time capsule, a frozen artifact representing not just a monetary denomination but an entire narrative about the United States Mint, the era of its creation, the quirks of technology, and the passion of collectors who recognize its uniqueness. And one of the fascinating possibilities surrounding the 1983 D-quarter is the speculation that a very small number may have been struck on experimental planchets as the Mint was considering cost-saving alternatives during that decade. And if even one of those escaped into circulation and later was authenticated, the rarity would surpass almost any modern coin ever found, further justifying the astronomical valuation. And let us not forget that 1982 and 1983 were also years when the Mint stopped producing official mint sets due to budgetary constraints, meaning that far fewer pristine coins were preserved by collectors, which amplifies the rarity of high-grade examples from those years. So when we consider a high-quality error coin from 1983 bearing the Denver Mint mark, we realize we are talking about something exponentially scarcer than similar errors from other years, and as with all legendary rarities, condition plays a key role, because the difference between a coin worth thousands and one worth tens of millions often comes down to its preservation, luster, strike sharpness, and absence of wear. And if a 1983 D-era quarter survives in mint state with full brilliance and sharp details while also carrying an extraordinary mistake, it instantly becomes a holy grail of coin collecting. But beyond the technical details, there is also the psychological factor of ownership, the prestige of holding something that no one else in the world has, the bragging rights in the numismatic community, the media attention that accompanies such discoveries, and the speculative frenzy that can propel prices higher with each auction. and this is why people are captivated by stories of coins like the 1983 D quarter selling for millions. Because it is a reminder that even the smallest, most overlooked piece of pocket change could harbor secrets worth life-changing fortunes, and if you think about it, every coin tells a story of probability. With billions produced, the odds of encountering one with the perfect storm of errors are almost incalculable, and yet they do exist, tucked away in rolls, in jars, in attics, or hidden in collections passed down through generations, waiting for the right pair of eyes to recognize them, authenticate them, and bring them into the spotlight where they rightfully belong. And so as we analyze in great depth the characteristics of the 1983 D quarter worth $84 million, we also need to appreciate the role of certification authorities like PCGS and NGC, who provide the grading, authentication, and documentation that gives collectors confidence in paying record sums, because without their expertise, the market for such extraordinary rarities could not exist at the levels it does, and every certified coin carries with it a chain of trust that reinforces its story and cements its place in history. And so the saga of the 1983 D quarter is not just about metal and mistakes, it is about trust, rarity, psychology, competition, and history converging into a single object. And when you step back and consider all the forces at play, it is no wonder that we arrive at such an astonishing valuation, because the coin is more than a quarter, it is a legend, and legends are priceless. And as collectors continue to hunt, discover, and share stories of these elusive treasures, the fascination will only grow stronger, fueling a market that thrives on rarity and imagination. And that is why the 1983 D quarter has earned its place as one of the most talked about coins of modern times. So if you are holding change in your pocket or searching through old jars at home, remember that hidden among those ordinary coins could be a fortune disguised as a simple quarter. And with that thought in mind, this journey into the world of the 1983 D quarter comes to a close, leaving you with the thrill of possibility and the reminder that history, chance, and value can intersect in the most unexpected ways. So make sure you stay tuned, because the next legendary coin story could be just around the corner. Why? Last 1998 D quarter dollar USA coin, everyone to this fascinating journey into the world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and unimaginable value, where we explore the incredible story of the 1998 D quarter dollar. A coin that looks like an ordinary piece of change you might find in your pocket but is actually tied to an unbelievable figure of $81 million because of the extraordinary errors and mistakes that make it one of the most sought-after rarities in numismatic history. And today we will dive deep into what exactly makes this coin so valuable, the reasons collectors are willing to pay astronomical amounts for it, the possibilities that surround its production, and how small imperfections have transformed this simple 25-cent piece into a legendary artifact worth big money. And as we unfold the details, you will see that the 1998 D quarter is not just a coin but a symbol of how history, human error, and collector passion can combine to create a phenomenon unlike anything else. So stay tuned as we begin this exploration with a captivating look at the Denver Mint of 1998, where millions of quarters were struck yet only a handful carried the remarkable errors that have captivated the coin collecting community and fueled legends about their worth. Now when we talk about errors, we are referring to a wide variety of mistakes that occur during the minting process. And in the case of the 1998 D quarter, these errors include double dies, where the design elements like the lettering of Liberty or the motto, "In God We Trust," appear to be doubled, giving the coin a distorted yet visually striking appearance that immediately sets it apart from a regular strike. And then there are off-center strikes where the design is misaligned on the blank planchet, resulting in part of the coin missing critical features, which only increases its rarity and intrigue. Some coins also exhibit die cracks which appear like raised lines across the surface as a result of worn or broken dies being used to strike the coin. And such flaws add a dramatic texture that collectors prize because each cracked die coin is essentially unique. Furthermore, certain 1998 D quarters display issues with the metal composition, where planchets were improperly prepared, leading to coins with unusual tones, missing clad layers, or even transitional errors where the wrong metal composition was accidentally used. And when you combine these possibilities together, you get a fascinating tapestry of mint mistakes that turn what should have been an ordinary quarter into a $1 million piece of history. Now imagine holding a coin that millions of people may have touched in circulation, yet yours contains a double die error or an off-center strike, and suddenly this quarter is not just worth 25 cents but potentially hundreds of thousands or even millions. And the ultimate specimen among them is believed to be valued at a staggering $81 million, a figure that seems impossible but is supported by the fact that collectors are known to pay record-breaking sums for coins that embody a perfect storm of rarity, error, and demand. And the 1998 D quarter fits that bill, because while there were many quarters struck in Denver that year, only a handful have surfaced with dramatic errors and even fewer have been preserved in pristine mint state condition, which is crucial since collectors always prize the highest grade possible, and grading services like PCGS or NGC have reported submissions of unusual 1998 D quarters with sharp details and striking errors, which have immediately generated excitement within the community. Now, beyond the obvious mechanical errors, there is also speculation about intentional or experimental strikes where mint workers may have been testing equipment or planchet variations and inadvertently released coins that were never meant to be circulated, and these so-called mule errors, where a quarter might have been struck with the wrong die combination, such as a reverse intended for another denomination, are among the rarest possibilities and could explain why certain 1998 D quarters stand out so dramatically in value, and every one of these scenarios contributes to the mythos of the $81 million quarter, because when you combine human error with scarcity, historical context, and collector frenzy, you create the perfect recipe for a coin to transcend its face value and become a treasure of legendary proportions. But what makes this story even more engaging is the way collectors hunt for these coins, searching through rolls of quarters from banks, checking pocket change, visiting coin shows, and bidding at auctions where these rare specimens can ignite bidding wars that escalate into the millions. And each time one of these coins is discovered, it sends ripples through the numismatic world as collectors debate whether another example could still be out there waiting to be found, fueling hope and excitement that perhaps the next person to check their change could stumble upon a fortune. And let's not forget the cultural fascination with error coins, which taps into the human love of rarity and the thrill of uncovering something unique, because the 1998 D quarter represents a story where ordinary people can dream of extraordinary wealth simply by paying attention to the details of something as common as loose change. Now, looking closer at the specific errors reported for the 1998 D quarter, we find double die obverse examples where the inscriptions seem to shimmer with duplication, creating a doubling effect that is unmistakable under magnification, and then there are misaligned dies that cause partial design elements to appear off balance, giving the coin a tilted or skewed appearance, while broad strikes without collars cause the coin to spread out with a flat edge lacking the usual reeded texture, which again signals a minting mistake of great interest. And another dramatic error includes clipped planchets where part of the coin's edge is missing because of an improperly cut blank, producing a quarter with a distinctive crescent-shaped void. And when such errors are combined with a strong mint state grade, the value skyrockets, especially since 1998 was one of the last years before the state quarter program began in 1999, which means this particular Denver quarter occupies a transitional moment in American coinage history, making it even more appealing to collectors, because they see it not just as a flawed coin but as a symbolic artifact bridging the era of standard Washington quarters and the wildly popular state quarters that followed. And so owning a 1998 D-era quarter means holding a piece of history from a pivotal moment in U.S. coinage. Now consider how the coin market itself influences value, because demand is as important as rarity, and collectors have shown again and again that they are willing to push prices to astonishing levels when a coin captures their imagination. Just as we have seen with other legendary rarities like the 1933 Double Eagle or the 1913 Liberty Nickel. And so when the story of the $81 million 1998 D quarter emerges, it taps into the same energy driving collectors to compete fiercely for a chance at owning such a treasure. And the mystique surrounding this coin only deepens when you realize that many of the errors are one of a kind, meaning that no two examples are exactly alike, which guarantees that each owner possesses something absolutely unique. And in the world of collectibles, uniqueness equals value. So the 1998 D quarter rises above being just a coin and becomes a work of art shaped by accident and time, and the excitement around it is not going away anytime soon, because as more people become aware of its existence, more will start searching their own coins, which in turn fuels the legend even further, creating a cycle of demand and fascination that pushes its value ever higher. And when we try to explain how a 25-cent coin could be valued at $81 million. The answer lies in this combination of rarity, rare variety, historical timing, collector demand, and the human passion for owning something truly special, and that is why this story resonates so powerfully, because it shows how even the smallest objects can carry the greatest significance. And so the 1998 D quarter remains an enduring mystery and a dazzling treasure, proving that sometimes mistakes can be worth more than perfection itself.